Yeah, nice, nice, nice. How are you, everybody? It's such an awesome thing to see you guys here. Yes, I can see that there's Igwe here, there's Sam, there's Kiz. There's so many people here on the call. It's such a great time to be with you. I'm super excited that you were able to make it. My name is Henrietta Agboola, like you already know. And I'm so excited because today we're going to learn a lot. So before we get started, I want to find out, have you learned how to sew before? Have you done any form of pattern drafting? If no, let me know in the comments. Tell me that, wow, I'm just about to learn. And if you've learned something about pattern drafting before, please also let me know in the comments. So this is how we're going to do it, right? If you have never learned pattern drafting before, right? Just say first time, okay? And if you have done some pattern drafting before, say, I want to learn more. Okay, that's how we do. So let's go ahead into the comments and see what you are telling me. Let me put on my glasses so that I can see what you people are telling me. So just type it into the comments. Let me know what exactly, is your status. You've done pattern drafting before. You've not done pattern drafting before. Let me know. I would love to know. So while I'm waiting for that in the comments, I'll just give you a little brief about myself. So I'm Henrietta Agboola, and I'm the CEO at House of Henry Limited, which has quite a number of subsidiaries under it. And the prominent ones are Fashion and Arts Academy, which is our on-site training arm, and EasyLearn College, which is our online training arm. We also have a production facility where we produce garments, just like the one I'm wearing, this lovely t-shirt that's mixed with fabric, Ankara fabric and t-shirt material. We do that, for our corporate clients. And if we're really glad that, learning how to sew has actually transformed a lot of people. We've trained over 5,000 people in our various trainings, vocational, business classes, and all of that. And I believe that as you're here today, you're also going to learn a lot. Now, the fact that this training is free doesn't mean you're not going to get value. You're going to get awesome value, massive value. In fact, so much more value than you would even ever expect. So I just want you to put on your learning cap. Like I told you, just come with a learning heart, okay? Come with a mind that is ready to put into practice everything you have learned, and we're going to have a great time. So does anybody want to share with me? Well, I haven't checked the chat. So let me go and check the chat and see. Wow. Okay, so someone says here, first time. Oh, someone said, I would love to learn more. Yes, first time. Great, great. I'm so excited that we have first timers here. You're going to see that it's going to make a whole lot of sense. Yes, yes, yes. Thank you so much. And we're going to go straight into it. So to make our video very smooth, I'm going to put up my own video so that it will be easy and smooth, because I'm going to be sharing my screen. And please, I hope you have your notebooks here. I hope you have your notebooks here. You have to have your notebooks here, and let's take notes together right away. So let's go ahead, and let me just turn off my, let me take a screenshot. Sorry. I wanted to do something there. Okay, great. So let me just put up my video and then we get started. All right, so let's get started. Let's just get this party rolling. Yes, I'm excited. I'm really, truly excited. And I want you all to know that today we're going to learn a lot. But please, the fact that today's class is free, I want you to be serious about it, right? I want you to be serious about it. I know for you to be on this call, you are serious-minded. You are serious-minded, and I applaud your being here. So let me start by sharing my whiteboard. And if there's any question that show up along the way, please send it into the chat. I'll be checking the chat from time to time. So can you see my whiteboard? Can you see? Just tell me yes in the chat if you can see my whiteboard. I want to be sure you can see my whiteboard. Can you see? Okay, all right. Great. So let's just get going. All right. Sorry. I wanted to be sure that, okay, I wanted to be sure that everybody is, okay, let's just, if you have any questions, please let me know in the comments so that we would have a very smooth class. I had to mute us, but if you have any questions, please make sure that you let me know. You could raise your hand. You can put it in the comments, whichever way that's most comfortable for you. And once we are done with the class, I'll unmute everybody and we can ask our questions. So it's just so that we can have a smooth flowing class. That's why I had to mute us. So let's get started. All right, so I'm here with my whiteboard and let me pick my pen. So the starting point when we're talking about pattern drafting is to understand what pattern drafting is all about. Pattern drafting is all about building blocks, right? It's all about building blocks because it's a representation of an actual garment, right? It could be half representation. It could be a quarter representation. It could be even at some points, even a full representation of the outfit, right? So, but today we will look at the quarter representation, right? So just like the way we build houses and we have a plan and we have measurements and we have different things that go into it, that is the reason why we also have pattern drafting. Some people feel that pattern drafting is a lazy way of doing things. No, it's a more accurate way and more precise way of ensuring that whatever you are doing is not messed up, and you don't forget the measurements, you don't forget the dimensions, and you don't get the clothing messed up. Because it's better for you to mess up the pattern than to mess up the outfit. Do I get a witness in the house? So I'm going to start with the measurements, okay? And for the measurements, I'll just come up with a couple of measurements. We'll need the shoulder. I'm just going to, let me make this easy for us to see. We're going to start with the shoulder. I'm going to put that shoulder. Then we'll also need the bust. We'll need the bust. We'll need the waist. We'll need the hips. Those are like basic measurements. We have the shoulder, we need the bust, we need the waist, we need the hips. What else do we need? We need the shoulder to bust, and we need the shoulder to waist. Okay, now this shoulder to waist is going to be in two different measurements. We're going to have the front, and then we're also going to have the back. Right, we'll have the front shoulder to waist, and we'll also have the back shoulder to waist. Okay, so we'll have the front, that's F, and then we'll have the back. Okay, not only that, we will have what we call the bust span. People call it nipple to nipple, right? Bust span. Let me just use that as BS. That bust span, that is the distance between one nipple to the other. Okay, that's the bust span. We'll also need, right, what we call our neckline width. That is how wide your neckline is going to be. Remember, we have measured the shoulder, but we also need to know the neckline width, which is very key. That's where your neckline is going to sit. So we put that as NW, all right? NW. And this NW, which is your neckline width, we'll have two of it. We will have the small neckline with the one that is exactly around the intersection of your neck and your shoulder. That is called the actual neckline width, okay? Then now, the width of the neckline, that is the one you really want. That is the desired neckline width. We need to have that. So we will label that as D, okay? Are you following? Please, I want to know in the chat. If you're following, tell me following. I need to know you're following. Are you following? Please just put following in the chat. I want to be sure that everybody is following. Just say following, following. If there's any question, if I'm going too fast, let me know. Are you following? Type in the comments, just say following, so that I know that everybody is following what I'm saying. I don't want to run ahead of the class. Okay. Okpayemi says following. Yes. Okay, I'm glad. Oh, yes, yes, yes. Even Sam says following. Perfect, perfect. So let me continue. Okay, so we put out our shoulder. Let's write 16 inches for that, for our shoulder, okay? Then what about the bust? Let us use 36, all right? Then the waist. Okay, Smart says I'm following, awesome. Then the waist, let's use 30 for the waist, okay? Then what about the hips? Let's use 38. 38. for the hips. Okay. Then the shoulder to bust, I will use 11. While for the shoulder to waist of the front, because the shoulder to waist of the front is normally longer than the shoulder to waist of the back. Remember that. It's not the same. Because of the bust in the front, right? The shoulder to waist of the front is longer. Then the shoulder to waist of the back is shorter. Remember that. So the shoulder to waist of the front, let's use 17, okay? Now, while the shoulder to waist of the back, let's use 15, okay? Then the bust span, how wide, the distance between the nipples, okay? That's nipple to nipple, or the distance, the width between, the bust point to bust point. Let's use 7.5, okay? 7.5 or 7.5, anyone that you like to write. Great. What about the neckline width? The neckline width now is how wide your neckline is. So we're going to take the actual one. The actual one is the smaller one. If you take it, you measure it, you'll see that most times like 5, 5.5 or thereabout. So let's use 5, okay? Then we now have the desired. D stands for desired. Please write it out in full so that you will know when you are looking at your measurements, okay? So A stands for actual. D stands for desired. Because of space, I cannot write all of that in full here. Okay, so let's look at 8. Let's use 8 inches for the desired, okay? Now, we also need the armhole depth, okay? Armhole, that's where the armhole is going to come out from. We need how deep your armhole is going to be. So that's going to be AD. AD is armhole and the depth, armhole depth. That's armhole and DEPTH, okay? So the armhole depth, we're going to use 7.5. 7.5. I think we probably have all our measurements. Okay, we'll also need the waist to hip. That's also key, waist to hip. Please take a screenshot of these measurements, okay? Waist to hips, we'll use the generally acceptable one. Most people feel that the waist to hip, it's not always that all the time, right? But let's just use a generally acceptable one. Let's use 8. So do we have all these measurements written down? Take a screenshot. Let me see if I can also take a screenshot so that we have that stored. Great. So we have our shoulder 16. We have our bust 36. We have our waist 30. We have our hips 38. We have our shoulder to bust 11. We have our shoulder to waist for the front 17 and the shoulder to waist for the back 15. We have our bust span, which is the BS, okay? That's 7.5, that's 7.5. Then we have our neckline width, which is neckline width as NW, sorry. A stands for actual, so we're going to use 5 for that. Then D stands for desired, okay? What you really, really want the neckline to be. Then we have AD here says armhole depth, okay? That's going to be 7.5. Then we also have our waist to hip, which is 8 inches. Okay, I hope we have all that. Make sure you take a screenshot. I'm going to do a little bit of calculation. But before I go into the little bit of calculation we will do, I want to talk about the different types of pattern drafting. Now, for this bodice, we're talking about the blouse. People use the word blouse, top, shirt, anything that has to do with the upper torso, right? That's the bodice. So when we're doing the bodice pattern, right, most times it stops at the waistline. But because we want to make it into a blouse, we continue it from the waistline to the hip line. That's why we needed our waist to hip. And you will see where that comes into play. All right. Now, when creating a bodice, we can decide to use what we call the differential measurement or the equal part measurement. So what is the differential measurement? When we look at the body physiognomy, the way the body is, our front is bigger than our back. Do I have a witness in the house? Our front, because of the bust, is bigger than the back. So you can actually use a front pattern that is bigger because of the bust. Your front pattern can be bigger than your back pattern. That's where you have the differential measurements. That's where you have the displacement, majorly because of aesthetics, okay? Or you can decide that you want to divide everything equally. So because of ease for today, I'm going to choose the easier one, which I will say is level 1, okay? we will divide it equally into 4. Okay, I hope that makes sense. So we're not going to do the differential one needs a bit more calculation. It needs a bit more advanced because the front pattern, there's a way we calculate to be bigger than the back. But I'm not going to go into that today because of time. I want us to get this quick, sharp, and easy. All right. Okay, so we're going to divide everything by 4 except our shoulder and our neckline width. Are we together? Do we have any questions? Let me confirm. Is there any questions? I can see. Do we have any questions so far? I'm seeing following, but any question? If you have any question, let me know. If you're good, just say good. If you understand everything I've said so far, just say I'm good. I want to know. I'm getting feedback because I don't want to leave anybody behind, okay? Just say I'm good, I'm okay, please. Oh, someone says I'm too fast. Okay, I'll take it easy right now. I'll take it easy, Kiss. I'll take it easy. Okay. So which part do you want me to repeat? Tell me, which part do you want me to repeat? Okay, someone says, okay, Igwe says I'm good. That's nice. That's nice. Thanks so much. All right, so I'm just gonna hold on for a few seconds. Kiss, have you been able to write everything down so that I can go straight and take on and continue? So if we're good, so someone should tell me continue so I can continue. If you feel, okay, we're good, let's continue. Just let someone just say continue so that I can move on with speed. All right, I'm waiting for your feedback. I just want to make sure that everybody, oh yes, thanks so much. Akwayemi says continue. I'm continuing. Thank you so much. God bless you. All right, so let's go ahead. Now, I hope you've taken a screenshot because I just want to quickly do a few calculations here. And once I've done that, yes, it says, what's the essence of the shoulder to waist? Okay, thank you very much. The essence of the shoulder to waist is so that we know the point where our waistline cuts, okay? Because this is a bodice pattern. You will have your shoulder to waist, and then from there, you now draft from your waist to your hip. So you will see all of that. It's just for us to know the location where our waistline is. That's why we have that, okay? So our shoulder, we will divide that by 2. Let me continue with speed. We'll divide our shoulder by 2, and then we'll get 8, okay? We will divide our bust. Now, we're not going to add any seam allowances, okay? That's why I'm just doing this bare bone. And why is 1 longer? Okay, I'll explain that for you. We'll see that when we're doing the pattern drafting. No problem, I'll get to that right away. Now, the bust, we'll divide that by 4. I'm not adding any seam allowance. I'm making this without seam allowance. Once your pattern is done and you place on your fabric, you can now mark out your seam allowances and cut it. Your seam allowance can be 1/2 inch to maybe 3/4 or maximum 1 inch, okay? But it's good practice not to use more than 1/2 inch seam allowance. But for the purpose of this pattern drafting, I'm not adding any seam allowance to make sure that everything is the same. Once you finish your pattern, you can now place on your fabric and add the seam allowances, okay? So for the bust, we'll divide that by 4. So what do we get? We'll divide this by 4, that should give us 9. We'll divide the waist by 4. That will give us what? 7.5. But we're going to add 1 inch. Why? Because of the dart measurement, okay? Because of the darts, and the dart is what gives the waistline the shaping. Okay, we're going to have 2 darts on this bodice. We're going to have the waistline dart, which flows from the bust all the way down. And then we're going to have the side bust dart, and you will see where that is going to come in. Okay, then we have our hip. We're going to divide that by 4 also. Just try and understand this. My writing is looking very funny, but just try and manage it. Okay, so that will give us 9.5. Okay. 9.5. I hope you can see that. 9.5. Okay. To the shoulder, for the shoulder to bust, we will not add anything. Shoulder to waist, we won't add anything. But just take note of all those measurements. Bust span, nothing is going to be added. All right. Neckline width, we are going to divide this by 2. Why? Because of the shoulder. It's the neckline width is along the shoulder. So we'll divide this by 2. We'll divide that by 2. That will give us 2.5. We'll divide this also by 2. That will give us 4. Okay, we'll get to that. So your armhole depth, we will not add anything. Waist to hip, we will not add anything. So please take a screenshot, right? And let's get started. Okay, so I just took a screenshot there. You can also take a screenshot there. So now I'm just going to clear this whole thing. Are we ready? Should I clear it or should I wait? Should I clear it? Please let me know. If I should clear it, tell me in the chat. Tell me yes. I don't want to clear it if someone is still writing. Should I clear it? Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. I can see that Ovuko says I should clear it. So I'm ready to clear it. Thank you so much. Thanks, Opayami. She says clear it. All right, great. So let me clear it. I'm going to clear it now. So I'm going to create a new whiteboard. Wow, everything has disappeared like magic. Okay, so we're going to start with the front pattern now. Front pattern, front pattern, front pattern. You can use brown paper, you can use white paper, you can even use newspaper, whatever paper, as long as you can see what you are drawing on it, okay? So today, my paper is what I want to draw out on this whiteboard. So you will see the reason why we have this whiteboard, because that's the only, oh, this is not fine. Let me remove it. Let me make it clean. I will try and make it as straight as possible. I'm not, let's try. Okay, I think I've tried a little bit. Good. So this is our paper. And the reference point, this is the front, remember, front pattern. So I'm going to start from this, from the left-hand side. I'm going to put a small X here to show where I'm starting from. Can you see where I put that X? That's my starting point for all my measurements, okay? That's the X point is the starting point for all our measurements. So let's take this down step by step. I'll try to be slow and I'll try to make sure that everybody can catch up. But please take these notes down. Draw them as you see as I'm drawing them, okay? So starting point from this X, I'm going to start with my shoulder. So my shoulder is 8, right? So let's mark that there. That's 8. Let me see if I can write that. 8. Great, that's my shoulder. Don't forget, we used 16. So 16 divided by 2 gave us 8. Please, I know some people don't like mathematics, but they just use us really tiny mathematics. Please don't be annoyed, just very tiny baby mathematics, okay? So we have 8 here. Next up is that I'm going to mark out my actual neckline width. Remember, we measured 5. That one is like the smallest neckline width, the one that is exactly at the base of your neckline, okay? That connects with your neck to your shoulder. That is what we call the actual neckline. And you will see the reason why. So you take that 5 divided by 2. When you do that, what happens? You get this somewhere here. We divide that by 2 to give us 2.5, okay? That's 2.5. I hope I can write that there. Okay. So that's our actual. And the reason why we didn't just take out, you know, our 4 inches, which is our neckline width, right, which is the desired one, is because we want to make sure that we follow the slope of your shoulder. That is the reason why, that we follow the slope of your shoulder. And it's only when we're able to follow the shape of the body that we can get actual and accurate patterns. Good. So now we come to this 8 inches here and come down by 1. That's your shoulder slant. Now this 1, it doesn't mean that 1 is always the measurement. It's just because it's just what we call the, what do I call that now? The generally acceptable measurement, right? The one that most people use. But for you to know what exactly you should use, you could use a tape, you could use a ruler, right? And use that to measure your depth. You can put that ruler at the base of your neckline and try and get it perpendicular. Try and get it, you know, very horizontal. And then whatever the difference is, you mark it out. That's just it. You'll be able to get out your own measurement, okay? Your own measurement. All right. So, but let's just use 1 for the sake of this class. So next up is that I'm going to connect these 2. I hope of course you're going to, oh, this is not fine. You're going to use your ruler to do this, right? I'm trying to make, oh, this is not fine. Let me try and make it as, okay, I think this one looks good. You know how it is when you're trying to get a straight line, doing all your best, you know. I can't use a ruler on the whiteboard. That's the reason why. So now the next thing I want to do now, okay, is to carve out the shape of my neckline. Remember, that my neckline width, the desired one is 8. So I will divide that by 2 and that will give me 4. So maybe this is where 4 will be. See where 4 will now get. Can you see where 4 is now landing? All right, so I've landed it somewhere there. And then maybe the depth of my neckline, I would forgot to add that measurement. That's how deep your neckline. Let's just put like maybe 6 or 7, whatever your neckline depth would be. Then I'm going to connect it and make that neckline shaped. Oh, that's not fine. Let me get that done properly. Beautiful. So now, can you see something here? I just drew out the neckline, but I did not draw it on the 2.5. I drew it on the 4, right? So that means that is the shaping of my shoulder, and I've gotten that place exactly like that. That's just the reason why we did this. Next thing we're going to do is our armhole depth. Yes, that is how deep the armhole is going to be. That's how deep the armhole is going to be. Okay, so to make the armhole depth, I'm going to draw a straight line from this place all the way somewhere close to that place. I'm not sure whether it's, I just drew a straight line. You can take your ruler and draw a straight line. Then on this straight line, I will now measure my armhole depth. Remember, it was 7.5. Remember, 7.5. Do we remember? 7.5. So I'm going to mark out 7.5. Let's assume that this is where my 7.5 gets to. I will now take a ruler. Okay? Please don't forget, where are we now? We did our shoulder, we did our neckline, and now we're doing the armhole depth. Okay? So this measurement is now 7.5. 7.5. I'll now take a ruler and try to draw this line exactly intersecting. Can you see what I just did here? I took a straight line to intersect that line. Why? Because I want to curve my armhole. That's what I want to do now. I want to curve my armhole, and that's where it's going to land. This line now is my armhole line. My armhole line, okay? I hope we're following. I hope we're following. So that's our armhole line. So what am I going to do next? 2 things I'm going to do. I'm going to mark out my bust measurement on this armhole depth, on this armhole line, right? So on this armhole line now, let's just say maybe, okay, don't forget, our bust is 36 divided by 4, which is 9. So I'm going to map that out here. So let's say this is 9, okay? So I've gotten where my bust is on my armhole line. Next thing I need to do, right, is to come to this length, right, and create where I want to curve it. It's called the armhole dent. Because the armhole is not a straight curve, it's a curve, you know, it's a beautiful curve, starting from the tip of the shoulder, going inward and then curving. You will see how this comes. So where am I going to put my armhole dent? My armhole dent will be placed 2/3 along this line. So this line is 7.5. Now, if I'm going too fast, please let me know. I need to know in the comments if we're following, because this is very technical, but it's also easy as long as you can get it, right? So I want to curve this armhole, but I don't want to make it look funny. I want to make it look beautifully curved. So I'm going to place a dent along this line. So I will take this length, which is 7.5, and divide it by 3. Then multiply it by 2. 2/3 of 7.5 is 5 inches, okay? That means that 7.5 divided by 3 is 2.5. Then that 2.5 multiplied by 2 is 5. That's mathematics. Let's take it somewhere here. All right, so that is like 2/3. This part here from the tip to this place is 5 inches and the rest is 2.5. So I will not come in by like about 3/4 or 1 inch. Let's use 1 inch for the sake of ease. And then at this point, I'm now going to try and get a lovely curve. Oh, and then curve it to this armhole. Oh my gosh. Sorry, I hope this looks good. You can use your French curve for this, right? I use your French curve. But it's always good to also practice how to curve by yourself. Because what if you don't have access to a French curve? You know? So you curve it, make it a lovely curve, going in by that 1 inch, and you curve it to that point where it's your dent, and then you now curve to the armhole. I want to be sure that everybody is with me. Are we okay? Am I going too fast? Let me see. Are we good? I want to be sure that we're good. Are we good? Are you following? I want to make sure that when we finish this front pattern, it will be easier to do the back. I just want us to make sure that we are following. Please, if you're following, let me know. Just tell me yes. Tell me yes. Tell me yes. I want to be sure. I want to be sure that everybody on this call is engaged. So let me know, please. It's very important so that oh, yes. Thank you, Joy. Joy says yes. All right. Who else is saying yes? I want to be sure that, oh, yes. Igwe says yes. All right. Thank you. Smart says yes. Okay. Oluwatayo says yes. All right. Thank you very much. That's good. Thank you very much. So Blessed, I think you're also trying to tell me yes, right? So let me just lower the hand so that we can move in. Okay, great. So let's move on with speed. Let's move on with speed. Let's move on with speed. At this point, we can now begin to go on with speed. Okay, we've done the armhole now. Next thing we want to do is to now mark out the positions of our shoulder to bust, shoulder to waist, and waist to hip. We're going to do all of that simultaneously, okay, one after the other. All right, so the first thing is shoulder to bust is 11. So I'm going to mark that out. You draw a line, you have, try and draw, oh, that's too, okay. Shoulder to bust, let's use this place here. Shoulder to bust 11, all right. That's shoulder, that's from the tip, from the top of this particular paper to this point is 11. From the top of the paper to this point is 11, all right. Then the shoulder to waist for the front, remember 17, don't forget. So we're going to use 17. Then our waist to hip, we'll use 8, okay? So for our waist to hip, let's use this place. Good. So can you see how we've marked out those 3 lines now? The shoulder to bust, the shoulder to waist for the front, and the waist to hip, all right? The waist to hip is 8 inches. Don't forget, let me try and see if I can just put that in there, is 8 inches. While the shoulder to waist is 17. I don't want to put too many measurements there so you don't get confused. All right, this is 9. Let me be sure that you can see that that's 9. All right, so now let's just move on with speed now. Now, on this line, which is your bust line, we are now going to mark out our same 9 inches, okay? The same 9 inches. On the waistline, we're going to mark out, who can remember what we did? We took the 30, divided it by 4, giving us 7.5, and we added 1-inch darts, which gave us 8.5. So I'm going to mark out 8.5 there. It's going to be slightly smaller. Then on this hip line, right, I'm going to mark out 9.5 because my hip is 38. I divided it by 4 to give me 38, okay? So I'm going to mark that out here. So all we just want to do is to connect these dots, okay? We'll make this one straight, and then this one will be slightly curved, right? Just a gentle curve, because don't forget this is 9, this is 8.5. And then this one is 9.5, okay? You can use your French curve to do all this curving, all right? You can even use your hip curve to take it from the waist to hip. Good. I hope that's a nice curve. Okay, so great. So now that we have marked this out, the next thing we want to do is to take note of the locations where our darts are. Now, you see what we're doing is a very basic bodice. With this bodice, you can do what we call dart manipulation, changing the position of the darts and doing all sorts of lovely stuff. Those are more advanced techniques, okay? So let's now get the positioning of our darts. Our darts, remember that we measured out our bust span. If you can remember, our bust span is 7.5. Yes, 7.5 inches. We will divide that by 2 to give us 3 3/4. Yes, 3 3/4. So where are we going to put that? On the bust line, not the armhole line, the bust line. So we're going to mark this out here. Let's say this is our 3 3/4. And we'll also measure out under 3 3/4 at the bottom here and draw the line. Okay, you draw the line with a straight line with your ruler, okay? So when you draw that line, okay, you have connected your bust point all the way down to get the location of the dart. Next thing is I want to draw out the dart. But remember that the starting point is our bust line, but we don't want to take our dart from the bust area. We have to come down by 1.5 inches, either 1 inch or 1.5 inches. We cannot take that shaping from the bust. Why? Because we don't want the bust to be pointed when you are doing your darts. You don't want it to be pointed. You want it to give room for the rounding of the bust, okay? So I mark that out 1.5 inches away. Then remember that my dart is 1 inch. So because of that, I'm going to mark out 1/2 inch on either side, 1/2 inch on either side. Let's try and, oh, that's too much. Let's just make it smaller. Okay, let me just try and work with what I can get. So we're going to mark that out 1/2 inch on either side. Draw that from there. Draw that from there. Then you draw this all the way to the, oh. Now, oh, let me remove that so that I can tell you something. Let's assume that your blouse length is shorter than where your waist to hip is. You need to mark that out. So let's assume with this now, if I calculate 17 plus 8, that's 25. Let's assume my blouse is not 25. Let's assume my blouse length is actually 23, right? I need to mark out where my blouse length is. So you mark that out, very important. You must draw out that blouse length. Let's assume that the blouse length is 23, all right? You would have drawn all this shaping before you mark out your blouse length, okay? So then you can now connect your dart to that point. Can you see that? Beautiful. Once we've done this, don't mind the way it looks, it's because I'm drawing directly with my hand, but you would use your ruler to do all of these. Let's just manage it, okay? So the next thing I'm going to do now is to shape the edge of the blouse. To shape the edge of the blouse, I'll make it curved. I'll go up here by 1.5 inches, okay? And curve this, okay? Can you see that? Can you see that? So now this gives me a nice rounded base of my blouse, okay? Shaped, curved, wahoo. So we're done. No, sorry, we're not done. I just forgot that we have not added our bust darts. How could I ever forget that? I guess I was just excited that we're almost done. So let's go ahead and do our bust dart, okay? So we'll still come back to this bust point and mark out another 1.5 inches away from there. And now you can decide how you want to draw out your darts. You can decide to spread your darts equally above and below your bust line, or you can decide to make it slanted. Let me show you either of. So you can decide that, you know that our darts, let me tell you what a bust, how you come about your bust darts. Let me tell you how you come about it. Very simply, remember that our shoulder to waist, and now kids, listen to this very well. Remember that our shoulder to waist of the front is 17, but our shoulder to waist of the back is 15. This is where the magic happens. Subtract the back shoulder to waist from the front shoulder to waist. What do we get? Someone, I want to be sure that we can all hear me, right? I want to be sure you can all hear me. So if I subtract, okay, the shoulder to waist of the back, which is 15, from 17, what do I get? Let me show that everybody's here. I'm waiting for our calculations. Subtract 15 from 17, what do we get? I'm waiting. 2 inches, awesome. Thank you so much, Sam, you got it. That's it. That's going to be the size of our bust dart. That's going to be the size of our bust dart, yes. So we're going to measure 1 inch, we're going down, oh, thank you, Igwe. Yeah, so we're going to take that 2 inches, divide it by 2, okay? And put one up and put one down. So I'm going to put one up here. Okay, let me put one up here. Let's put one up here and then put one down there. And I'll take my ruler and connect it, okay? Oh, that's not nice. This drawing, I'm trying my best. Oh, that's not fine. Let me draw another one. Anyways, you get the drift, okay? So this is what we call an equal placement dart. Now, let's assume you don't want to do, you want to make your dart a bit slanted, okay? What we will do, let me put Blessed's hand down. Okay, so let's assume that we want to make it a slanted dart. All I have to do is just, instead of making it, equal up and down, I will just come here. And from this point here, mark out 2 inches all the way down here. Can you see that? And then draw the slant all the way down. Can you see that? Simple. You want to make it slightly slanted to the bottom, right? You just mark out your 2 inches. Can you see it? You mark out your 2 inches. That's what you're going to do. You mark out 2 inches like that. From the bust line to the point of where you want your 2 inches to be. Now, this is just the placement of the dart. Now, this is also, oh yes, I can't see anything. I'm the only, oh, Sorry, kids. I think you should log out and log back in. Just log out. If you can't see anything, log out and log back in. I hope you'll be able to still see this. I'll just hold on for you. Log out and log back in. Take a screenshot, everybody, because I'm going to be wiping this away. I just took a screenshot there. So at this point here, any questions? Because we're going to run with speed when we're doing the back pattern. So I want to be sure that everybody is covered. We're all together. Are we together? Any questions? Let me be sure. Let me go and check the chat. Okay, so kids, can you see it now? Can you see it now? I want to be sure that you can see it. Have you logged out and logged back in? Does anybody else have a question? I want to be sure before I go into the back pattern. Okay, doesn't all these dots subtract from the length of the blouse? Wow, that's a great question. No, it doesn't. It doesn't. The reason why this side busts, don't forget that the only thing that really that might look like as if it's okay, I would also want to know the names of the two dots. Okay, thank you very much. I'll definitely get to that. So the middle one here, this one that is from the bust to the base of the blouse is called your waistline dart. Then the one here by the side is called the bust dart, the side bust dart. Okay. So the one at the side here is called side bust dart, while the one in the middle here that stems from the bust all the way to the base. Okay, it said, please, from the shoulder, the network stopped responding from there. Sorry, dear. Please, can you explain how you got 7.5 inches from the arm for the armhole? Okay, that's a good question. So let me finish with the first question. The dart, right, from the bust all the way to the base of the blouse is called the waistline dart, okay? While the side one is called the side bust dart. Now, your concern is that all these darts, won't it reduce the length? No, it will not reduce the length, because you have to realize that from this X all the way to this edge of the blouse is the length, and that's what is going to show. All right. Now, this point here that may look like, oh, that's the side bust dart. We have to create the shaping for the bust. That's why we have that dart there. We want to make sure that our bust is giving room for expression. We don't want to press the bust. Now, some people have what they call very slim figure waist. Some people, in some cases, you may not put a side bust. And in some cases, putting a side bust gives more shaping. So two darts are better than just one dart. Okay, but it doesn't mean you cannot just only use one dart. But remember, you may have people who have very, protruding busts. You will need to do side bust dart for them to make sure that the bust has a very good place to sit. I hope that's clear. So let me go and check the other question so that I can answer appropriately. All right, so someone says here, that case, it says from the shoulder, the network stopped responding. But is the network responding now? Can you see my board, the whiteboard? If you can see, just take a screenshot and try as much as possible. When we're doing, okay, yeah, great. When we're doing the back, we'll do a little recap, so at least you will get a flow of it, okay? Then someone says, please, can you explain how you got 7.5 inches for the armhole? Great. Yes, there are different schools of thoughts for getting armhole. Some people give you some different calculations, but the best thing I always tell people, let the person spread his arm out, okay? And then from the tip of the shoulder to where the armpit is, just try and measure a straight line to that point, using something to just, don't slant it. Just try and get at least that measurement to where the armpit level is. That's your surefire way of getting the armhole depth, okay? For some people, right, they have different calculations, but I've tried a lot of calculations, but the best way so far is that the person spread their arm out, you take it from the tip of the shoulder to where the armpit level is, and you're good. I hope that's clear, Ulua Tayo. Any other questions? We are running with speed. We're running with speed to go to the back. Remember to take a screenshot because I'm about to get this disappear. Are we ready? Okay, Sam says, thanks for the waistline. Okay, thanks for the waistline that I would like to know. Okay, let me go back and check what she said. I didn't grasp that very fast. So it says, for the waistline that I would like to know if it runs completely to the bottom of the blouse. You came down by an inch from the bottom. Yes, I came down by an inch. It actually came down by 1.5. but you can actually come down by an inch. It's okay. The whole idea is that you don't want that point to be pointed when you are doing your dart. You know how you do your dart and then the thing will now be showing point exactly on your nipple. It's a no. We want it to just be slightly below 1 inch minimum. You all right? So from your bust point, and it's come down by 1 inch or 1.5 inches. That's fine. Someone says bust that, Jerry. Okay, so I'll get to that question. I hope you understand it, right? Yes, actually what I did, okay, was that after determining the shoulder, the length of the blouse, remember that we marked out shoulder to waist, and then we did waist to hip, okay? So let's assume all of that calculation together is actually 25 inches. But let's assume your blouse is not up to 25 and it is 23. I just gave that example. If it's 25, you're okay. But if it is 24, or you have to reduce that length, right? You draw the line of the length of the blouse. Then your dart will get to that base. Don't forget that even though you get to that base, by the time you're placed on your fabric, you can now add your seam allowance, probably like a 1 inch or a 1/2 inch or whatever you get for you to sew it and turn it in, okay? But the shaping of that dart comes all the way to the end of the base of the line of the blouse. I hope that's clear. Please, how did you measure the darts, please? Okay, the darts, how did I measure the darts? Well, starting from, let me go to the board. Okay, how did you measure the darts? Now take a look at this board, right? Look at my whiteboard. The dart, which is the waistline dart, all I had to do, right, was to come down from my bust point. Let me show you my bust point. Let me show you my bust point. This is my bust. Let me draw this out. This is my bust point. Can you see that bust, that place I just circled? This is my bust point, okay? I came down by 1.5 inches. 1.5. It can be 1. Oh, that's not showing well. I came down by 1.5 inches, 1.5. Let me see if I can write that there. Sorry, it's a bit tacky, but I came down by 1.5 there. I'm going to remove that because it's not showing very well. Let me remove that, 1.5. Then I now connected it. Don't forget that my dart is 1 inch, okay? Because to the waist, I divided that by 4 and got 7.5 because the waistline was 30. I got 7.5. Then I now added 1 inch. That 1 inch has to be divided into 2 to get half. That's what I did. So I put 1/2 inch on one side and put 1/2 inch on the other side, and I connected it like that. That's what I did, okay? So let me go and check the other questions. We have to move with speed because I wouldn't want this to be too long. Okay, what did you use for the bust dart before drawing the line? What did I use for the bust? Okay, if you use 1.5 before drawing the, sorry, I don't get it. Let me see. Please, ma, I joined lately. How do you get the neck measurements? Every other measurement, I got it right. How do you get the neck? Okay, I'll come to that. Sorry, Igwe, can you rewrite this question? Oh, I'm not sure what you mean. What did you use for the bust dart? I did not use anything for the bust dart. All I did, let me go back and show you what I did, is that this bust point is very important. We have located it. Don't forget that this bust point, right? Let me draw this bust point. Can you see that? This bust point is 3/4. Oh my gosh. Sorry, it's not showing very well. That means it was 7.5. We divided it by 2 to get this bust point. That is the exact location of your bust point. All right. So after this point, I measured 1.5 inches away because I don't want to sew my dart to come to the bust. It has to be away from the bust because of the rounding of the bust. You don't want your dart to be showing like chuku chuku. You know, sorry, but you understand what I mean by chuku chuku? Like you saw it and then it's not pointing out, like pointing on top of. No, you don't want that. You want to make sure the bust has place to rest, to be rounded, and to look nice and professional. That's why this 1.5 inch is very important. It may be 1 inch, it could be 1.5 inch. Nothing more than 1.5 inches, okay. Then the rest of it will now drew it here. So that means that technically, right, you will now have to measure this place. Let's try and measure it. Let's try and get it. Don't forget that this measurement is 9 inches, right? So this is 3/3. 3/3 plus 1.5. Who likes mathematics here? 3/3 plus 1.5 is 5/1/4. If I take 5/1/4 from 9, 5 from 9 is actually 4. So 3 3/4. This length here is 3 3/4. It's also like, you know, it's like 3 3/4 inch. That's the length of, that's the how long this particular dart is. But let's not get ourselves with too many of these mathematics equations. Just try and follow it easily. When you try it the first time, try the second time, you'll get a hang of it. Okay, so at this point, we need to move with speed. When we're doing the back pattern, right, it's going to be very fast. It's going to be very fast. The neck measurements, well, let me just quickly run over that. The neck measurement, we had two measurements. We have our actual neckline and we have our desired neckline. So our actual neckline is 5 inches. That means the one that's exactly at the base of your neck. You know, where your neck connects to your shoulder, right? Is a small neckline, the one that is in neck, when you look at yourself in the mirror, where your neckline actually sits. That is the actual. Then your desired is the way you want, how wide you want it to be. It can be 10, it can be 12, it can be 9. This one we used 8, okay? So the 5 inches, we divided it by 2 to get 2.5. While the 8, we divided it by 2 to get 4. That's where you see that the second place where we connected the neckline is different from the 2.5. Okay, at this point, I guess we're good. Let's move ahead. I'm going to clear this. I guess at this point, everybody has been satisfied. All right, so let me clear this. 1, 2, 3, go. All right. So that we're going to do the back pattern now. And this is going to be so fast, you'll be surprised at how long it took us to do it. You'll be very surprised. You'll be very surprised. You'll be very surprised. Okay, let's go ahead and get this done. I'm going to just make it very quick, okay? Not too many explanations. We've done all the explanations in the front pattern. Thank you, Margo. Thank you so much, Kennedy. Yes, I'm glad that you've gotten it. I'm glad. All right, so let's quickly draw our pattern. Our pattern, oh, this is not fine. Don't mind me. I always like to see the lines looking straight. But, well, I just have to realize that I'm doing this on my phone, so I have to, oh, that's not fine. Let's try and make it smoother. Let's try our best. Okay, so that's our pattern paper for our back. So for the back, what do? We go ahead and mark out our zip allowance first thing. That is the first thing, because now the back, because that's where your opening is going to be, right? Because the front didn't have any opening. Doesn't mean that your opening is always at the back. It's just that for this particular pattern, the opening is at the back. So we draw out our zip allowance. Some people use 2 inches, some people use 1 inch, some people use 1.5. Whatever you feel comfortable, let's just mark it out. 2 inches, 1 inch, so 1.5, whatever. Let's just mark it out. Draw that line. So that means that's going to be the reference point of all our, oh, that's not fine. That's going to be the reference point for all our measurements, okay? Just like we had that X, remember that X we had? Oh, let me try and, why am I not getting my line straight? Let me try my best second time. Let's just leave it like that, okay? So I'm going to put my X here. So my X is going to be here, okay? That's where all our measurements will start from, all right? Remember, for the front, it started from the very tip. Now it's starting from where our zip allowance is, okay? What were the things that we use? We're just going to replicate everything. The only difference, you will see the only difference now. The only difference is going to now be, no, let me not get there. When I get there, you will see the difference, okay? So let's mark out our shoulder, 8 inches. 8 inches here. Then we'll mark out our actual neckline, which is 2.5. There. We mark out our shoulder slant, which we say we're going to use 1. Okay. And we'll slant it all the way there. Points. Good. Next off is that we're going to mark out our neckline, our desired neckline, which is 8. We'll divide that by 2, giving us 4, right? So that's where I'm marking that point there. So because this is the back, the neckline depth is not as deep as the front. So let's use maybe 2 inches and then draw that to get a nice looking shape there. Okay. I don't like the way that looks. Let's make that look smoother. Okay. Let's do this. Good. All right, that looks better. Great. So next thing we're going to do now is mark out our armhole depth. Remember, we drew a straight line all the way down. Then we'll mark out our 7.5, which is our armhole. Mark that there. And then we intersected it with a straight line. Do you remember that? If you're following, tell me. So, oh, I will join you. Oh, I want to use. Okay, no problem. Make sure you join quickly because you need to take a screenshot, okay? So look at this now. We've marked this out, 7.5 all the way down. We've gotten it. Yeah, we've gotten it all the way across, okay? We've drawn that line. What do we need to do next? Remember that for the front armhole depth, we came down by 2/3. That was 7.5 divided by 3 multiplied by 2. So this time around is just halfway. We just need to use half. That is 7.5 divided by 2, giving us 3¾ And then we'll come in by only 1/4, maximum 1/2 inch. Because you see, the back is wider than our armpit to armpit, which is our front chest, okay? That's why we use 1 inch for the dent. But for the back, because it's wider, okay, we will only use 1/4 inch, just to like 1/4 or maximum 1/2. And then we'll still mark out our, don't forget our bust measurement, which is 9. So mark that out, okay? And then we'll draw it. Let's try and see if we can get this looking nice. And then we'll get good. Just manage it. Manage this our curve. You will use your French curve to create the curve, okay? You can use your French curve and you can draw it by yourself. Let me try and see. I hope I'm not spoiling it again. I'm just trying to make it look nice. Okay, so anyways, that's just something. Oh, I think I'm going to do this again. Don't mind me. I like it looking pretty, so don't mind me. Let me take it away. Let's leave it like that. Okay, so next thing is that I'm going to mark out my shoulder to bust. Remember, my shoulder to bust, my shoulder to waist, and my waist to hip. Good. So let's go ahead. What's my shoulder to bust? It's 11. Remember that? 11 inches. Then my shoulder to waist for the back. Don't forget. For the back. Who can remember what a shoulder to waist for the back is? Let me see it in the chat. What is our shoulder to waist for the back? What is our shoulder to waist for the back? I'm waiting. What is our shoulder to waist for the back? If you have been following, you should be able to tell me what our shoulder to waist for the back is. I'm waiting. We use 17 for the front. What did we say we're going to use for the front? Oh, yes, correct. Wow. Good. You're doing well. 15. Thank you, kids. 15. We are using 15 inches for our shoulder to waist for the back. That is the difference, okay? We use 17 for the front, we're using 15 for the back. So let's go ahead and use 15. So you can see it will be shorter. It will be shorter, okay? Let's use it. It will be shorter than what it was in the front. It will be shorter, right? Then we will go ahead and, oh, this line is slanty. Let me use it. Let me make it look much better. Great. Then now we will mark out our waist to hips. Waist to hips, which is what? 8 inches. We're going to mark it out. Now, you will notice something, right? That this pattern is going to be shorter than the front pattern. Obviously, it is. Definitely, you know that, right? Because shoulder to waist for the back is 15. And then immediately from that waist, we marked out 8 inches, okay? Now, how do I know what the length of the blouse is going to be for the back? What do you think we need to do? Because the length of the front, the blouse for the front is 23, right? We will need to subtract 2 inches from that length to make sure that our back blouse length is the same, okay? So that means that I'll go ahead and do all the drawing and then we'll come back. This one now is going to be what? It's not going to be 25, it's going to be 23. So that means that we're going to go up a little bit. All right, so we're going to take 23 inches minus 2, which will give us 21 for our blouse length for the back. I hope that's not confusing. If it's confusing, let me know in the chat. But I think that's just easy for you to understand that we have to shorten it, okay? So let's finish up every other thing. We'll mark out our bust here. We'll mark out the waist, the same waist, which is going to be what? 8.5 inches. The waist was 30 divided by 4, giving us 7.5, plus 1 inch for our dart. Okay, and then our hip is going to be 9.5. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. So let's now just connect all these dots. You can connect the dots and then curve it out. You can use your hip curve to come up with this. Let me try and clean that part away. Oops, no. Let me just, let me just draw that line again. Okay, so now once this is drawn, right, you have done this. I'm now going to measure out the length of the blouse for the back. Like I said, I'm going to reduce it by 2. So 23 minus 2 will give me 21. So let me make that here. I'm going to just put that here. Okay, so now we will also, there's no back now. The difference between the front pattern and the back pattern is this. There is no side bust at the back, no side bust. The only place where we have side bust is the front. So we will still have a dart at the back, but now we want to shapen the back to give it a vent on this zip allowance. Sometimes I just want to give you this as an extra bonus, right? Some people just leave it as straight, but you can decide to make it a bit shaped to make sure that your back doesn't buck when you put your zip, okay? So let's go ahead and draw out the line of our bust. So the bust span here, we're not using bust span to notate where our dart is going to be. We just divide this bust area by 2, okay? So that means that this 9 inches will divide into 2 to get 4.5. So I'm just going to get that line, equal division, all the way down. Equal. This space is equal to this space, okay? So for the darts, okay, what am I going to do? Someone says, those it apply to a full, I thought it would only affect bodice with, okay, I'm coming to that. I'll look at your question. All right, so now look at this now. What do we want to do? We have put out where our dart is going to be, but I want us to shape in where our vent is going to be. So this vent will come in by half here on the waistline. Can you see here? Just come in by half and draw this line, just to give it a slight shaping. Oh, sorry, this is not fine. Slight shaping. Let me remove that so that it can be easy. I'm just going to come in gently. Oh, this is not fine. What is going on with my drawing tonight? Okay. Okay, let me try and get it. Okay, I think I've gotten it there. And I'll just, so can you see what I just did? I did a little shaping there. The same thing I'm going to do on the zip allowance. I'll do a slight shaping here and slight shaping there. The whole idea is that we want to make sure that when we put in our zip, this back also has our backs are like S shape, all right? So that's why we did that. Then the rest of the darts, we'll bring it here. Instead of making our darts half, we can actually make it quarter. So we're sharing the darts in between all 3 places, right? Half goes in here, then quarter, just to make sure that we have a nice shaping at the back, okay? Even the darts can be more than half. I just put that as an example. So I hope you can see that. So what we have here is that we have the shaping at the waistline here to create a nice S shape for our back when we're putting in the zip. And then we have the dart also in the waistline here, okay? Next up is that we want to finish up the blouse by coming up here by 1.5 and shaping it. Shaping it to the base. Okay, wow. So can you take a screenshot so that you have this? Okay. So this is our back pattern. Let me go and check that question. Let me check the question now and know what you have said. Does it apply to full or straight blouse also? I thought it will only affect blouses with half cut at the waist. I mean the 2-inch difference. No, it applies to any blouse. It applies to any dress, as long as, even if you're cutting it from the waist, it applies to it. You're making it as a blouse, it applies to it. You want your blouse to sit well. All right, you want your blouse to sit well. That's what you're doing. You want your blouse to look good and sit well, okay? So, any other questions at this point? Because I want to share something really exciting with you. Any other question? Any question? I want to share something really exciting with you for those of you that want something more. Any other question? Any other question? I'm not seeing any question. That means that, did everybody get it right? Did you get all the explanations? Was it easy? Give me some feedback. I want to be sure. I want to be sure. Yes, I didn't get the armhole. I didn't get the armhole for, okay, the armhole is armhole for the front. The armhole for the front is 7.5. The dent we used was 1 inch, okay? The dent we used was 1 inch. I want to know why we have actual neckline and desired neckline. Great. Thank you very much, Sam. Now, when we look at the way our bodies are, we want to make sure that our dress or the outfit we are making follows the shape of our body. And that's the reason why we created that actual neckline. Now, if you take a good look, let me show you some parts here. If you take a good look, can you see that where we shaped this neckline at this 4 inches here? Can you see this place? Can you see that there is a space? Can you see that there's a space? When we slanted, there's a space there. Now, if I slanted it from that place, can you see that? By the time I'm making this cloth, that place will be looking up. It will not rest on my neckline properly. It will not rest on my shoulder very well. Can you see that that space there? Exactly, that's what you're confused. Yes, you can see what I'm saying. The whole idea is that we want to make sure that whatever we're doing follows the shape of the body. That's why we did not use it from there. It doesn't mean that in some cases you cannot, if it's a loose, a free-flowing outfit. In some cases, even when I do pattern attach, I could just make it like that if it's a free-flowing outfit. But if you want to make it very accurate, you want to make it sit down very clearly on the person's shoulder line, go with this actual and desired. You will like it. It will work perfectly. Okay? So at this point, I want to share with you something. You guys have been with me, right? I want to share with you something that will take your sewing further, that will give you speed, that will help you in your fashion design pursuits. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing briefly, and I'm going to share my screen this time, right? I'm going to share my screen this time around. Let me share my screen with you to show you something that is going to help you in your business, in your fashion design work. Okay, so let me go ahead and share my screen and show you something that will help you in your fashion design work. Okay, so let me share that with you. Can you all see my screen? If you can see my screen, just let me know. Just say yes, so that I know that you can see my screen. So I'm just going to show you this. Now, this is our online training platform called EasyLearn College. And I want to show you how our platform is and what we offer, okay? And we're giving a very big bonanza today, something awesome, something you don't want to miss. Yes. Now, you guys have seen that, learning how to sew can be easy, can be fun. Yes, it takes some little work, but once you know how to do it step by step, you will not make a mistake. So I want to share with you our online platform. It's called EasyLearn College. I'm just going to do a live demo for you to see how you can take advantage of this, right? I'm just going to enter it and share with you some work, okay? So that you can now see how you can use this for your business, how you can use this to improve your knowledge, all right? So it's called, okay, sorry. I didn't do that properly. Okay. So it's going to log in now. So it can show you what we have to offer. We have classes. It's called EasyLearn College. And we're going to show you what you can do with it, the different topics that we have there. As you can see here, we have over 20 topics here. We have topics ranging from trousers, shirts, kimono kaftans, native, dresses, slash and spread, bustier, you want to do breast cut, all those things, ladies' jacket, corporate wears, we have all manner of things, different kind of skirts, blouses, gowns. We have over 24 classes, like 23, 24 classes in this place. And normally we sell this course for 100,000. Our normal physical training is 150,000, but for our online class, we sell it for 100,000. But because you have taken out the time to be here, because you have shown that you are ready to work, you came to this for this webinar, right? I am going to give you this as an 85% discount, a very unbelievable discount. That means all you're going to pay for this is 15,000 naira only. And I'm going to give you a bonus. For some of you that want to learn how to do what we call digital pattern making, where you learn how to make patterns using your computer, I'm going to share with you, this is a course that I sell for 50,000 naira. but I'm going to give you this course for free. So you will know how to use your laptop to design patterns. As you can see, I'm the one designing these patterns here. I'm going to show you step by step how to create physical patterns and digital patterns, because I want to reward your hard work. I want to reward the time you have spent here, right? Now, so what are the two things I just gave you? This particular course has 24 topics here, and I'm giving you this at an 85% discount, only 15,000 naira. But if you buy this, you will get this also as a bonus. You will get this also as a bonus. You will get this course. And you may be here and say, well, 15,000 is too much, right? I have a course for you. I have what you can do. I'm going to show you another bundle of 5 different courses. 5. These 5 different courses here, where you learn how to make a lady's jacket, how to make trousers, how to make a corporate male shirt, how to do princess cut blouse, how to do an 8-piece fish skirt. These 5 courses, I'm giving it to you at a whopping massive discount of 5,000 naira. And just in case you're even saying, oh, I don't even have 5,000, but you want to learn just one item, I've decided to give you one of these courses for 2,000 naira. Or you can have 2 of them for 3,000, or you can have all these 5 for 5,000. The whole idea is that I don't want anybody to make any excuse. No excuse whatsoever. Why? Because I want you to know that this is the best situation for you, right? Wherever you are right now, we have you covered. We've got you covered. Why are we saying we've got you covered? We've got you covered because we know that people want to learn how to sew and learn how to sew very well. That is the reason why we have this covered for you. Okay, so now I'm going to ask you, are you ready to take this forward? Are you ready to go the extra mile? Are you ready to improve your knowledge in sewing? Not just because in this case, let me just go into one of them so that you can at least understand what we're talking about, right? Because now you're just seeing, classes, you don't know what exactly. Let me just open one of them for you so that you can at least, you can at least have an idea of what exactly it entails. These are video classes. You can see here, this is me, right? I'm the one teaching you step by step, right? Where you learn. Not only would I teach you by these videos, you can also learn. If you have any questions, you can send us a WhatsApp message. Myself and my team will answer. You can see this is pattern drafting, right? Not only are we going to teach you the pattern drafting, we will teach you the sewing steps, step by step, all the stitching, all the way to go about it, right? Just because of time, I would have played one for you to see. In fact, maybe I should just play one for you to see. Let's hope the network can allow us, right? So I'm just waiting for it to allow. Yeah. So this is just an example of what you can do, right? This is what you can do with this course. It's a step-by-step course. The reason why I'm showing you is because a lot of people feel that they cannot learn, right? We have over 5,000 students. 5,000 students learning through different methods, right? We have the people that are learning, right, online. We have people that are learning on site. You may say, I just want to learn. I only want to learn physically. My dear, you can decide the physical class. I can give you our address and you can come there. But look, if you are somewhere else, like someone who is in Ondo State, am I going to tell you to come all the way down to Lagos? I'm not going to give you accommodation. You're going to find your accommodation. It's much more convenient for you to learn where you are. It's much more convenient for you to learn where you are. And I'm telling you, if you have questions, we have a dedicated WhatsApp line that you can ask all your questions. We have many students who send us their pictures and show us their progress, right? And tell us what they've done step by step. Let me just come on to just show my face a little bit because some of us have not seen me. Hello. Just in case you weren't around when I showed my face, here I am. Let me remove my glasses so you can see me very well. Thank you so much for being online all this while. So if you have any questions, I'm going to unmute us